Salutations, boys and girls. It's your host, Mr. DeMille, and I'm gladly welcoming you to another episode of Locked In, the show where I bring guests in from all over to share their story and tell their tale. Today, I'm here with none other than
Andy Bischel, President and CEO of Boys and Girls Club, Southern Nevada.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
So, for those of you who don't know, Andy has been here a really long time. In fact, he's one of the very people in this organization who has seen my beginning, middle, and where I am now. And so today's episode, I wanted to use it to acknowledge that and to show his story, because you guys have heard mine time and time again, and I've never heard his, and yet he's been there for all of mine. So we're going to start it real simple, real slow, your upbringings, your childhood. How was that like for you?
Yeah. So I grew up in New Mexico, Albuquerque, and pretty basic home life, right? But I would say what really kind of defines my early life is, and it's going to sound weird, but swimming. So I just naturally was a swimmer, and I've never been diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I'm ADD. So in order to burn energy, my mom put me in swimming, first for classes, but then by age 6, I was competitively swimming. Did that up until about 12, that time, right? 7th, 8th grade. I quit, I was like, I want to do other stuff. Well, that led to, me getting into a little bit of trouble. Nothing bad, but enough that my parents sent me to military school. And that was my sophomore year of high school. And it was a boarding school, so it was out in Roswell, New Mexico, which is out in the middle of nowhere. But it was this, look, I hated every minute of it, but in hindsight, it really, it kind of forced me, because that's what the military does, is it forces you to figure out who you are, right? And then you decide whether you want to, be in the military or not. But they don't give you many options. One of the things, I think the biggest lesson that I've ever learned, particularly at that 15, 16, 17-year-old, because of being in military school, no excuses. Did you get it done or did you not get it done? That's really all that matters, right? So you can say these are all the things, but if you can really get to that place, and it helped me as a young 16, 17-year-old kid of understanding, like, no one cares why. Did you get it done or did you not get it done? And if you can kind of live in that space of, look, I did things, right, in this space that caused this outcome. So that's on me. So I've got to own that and I got to do it. I was really fortunate because when I went back to military school, you're regimented. I mean, you wake up with revelry, do every morning. It's on a loudspeaker, and you're in a dorm bunk bed with your roommate. You got to pop up. You got to make your bed. You got to get dressed, full uniform. Brass on your lapels, and you got to have your shoes shine. You run out, get in formation, and then you march over to breakfast. But they inspect you before you march over to breakfast, right? And if you fail your inspection, you start doing push-ups, right? So that kind of stuff. And that's in all weather. Cold, hot, it didn't matter, right? You're out, you're doing it every day. So that regimented schedule, like I didn't identify with the military stuff. And if you didn't do a sport, then you had to do ROTC. And it was like, that's enough. I don't need any more of that. So I went back into swimming, and that's when I really started. Again, this was my sophomore year of high school, and I started swimming for me, right? I was like, I'm pretty good at this. I should really pursue it. So I made a deal with my parents. I said, if I can get, because I really almost did not have a GPA my freshman year of high school. And that's when I got into all that trouble. I wasn't going to school. I was going out and smoking pot and just doing nothing. And so, again, the military school got me back on track, and I started doing summer schools, and I asked my parents if I can get on track to graduate, will you let me come home for my senior year? And they did. And that reasoning was I needed 2-a-day workouts for swimming. You work out in the morning, and then you come back in the afternoons. And I couldn't get those down at military school, so they let me come home. I finished my senior year at a public high school in Albuquerque, and visited UNLV to get on their swim team. So got a scholarship to come to UNLV and swim, and I was getting my hospitality degree. So that's kind of what got me to Vegas. I was swimming, going to school. I've never been a good student. If it doesn't interest me, I have a hard time. And I actually did get diagnosed with dyslexia in college, actually. But it doesn't, same thing, no excuses.
No excuses.
Right? You either figure out how to get there or you don't, but that's on you. So, look, I learned to get C's in my classes because I don't learn from reading in a book. It's all auditory, right? It's connection. If the conversation's interesting to me, then I want to, have a conversation, and I want to get information, that way. So I just went to lectures. I went to all my classes, took notes. I would rewrite my notes in the library, eat lunch, and then I'd go back to the swimming pool. So we were swimming anywhere from 25 to 30 hours a week. So it's a big commitment. It's Division I NC2A swimming. It was competitive. It's interesting because swimming's it's a hard sport in that you're sensory deprived, right? You're in a swimming pool looking at a black line. You're not talking to anybody, and you're doing it for hours. And so you're in your head a lot. So you're going through, and that was also an academic trick for me, was why I rewrote my notes. I would review them in my head when I swam, right? Because I need to go other places, because you literally gotta go some other place when you're doing that much time in the pool. So did that, got C's, got my degree, and hospitality, and went to work for Marriott right out of school. Got a job, and got a job in Southern California, in Anaheim. So 1,100 rooms, which is a big hotel outside of Vegas. But it's adjacent to Disneyland, or adjacent to the convention center, and about a block from Disneyland. So we were convention business all winter, and then summer was all families coming in. So I was a front desk manager, 22 years old. And I worked a lot of swing and grave shift, right? So swing is basically 2 to midnight, and then midnight or about 10 to 6 a.m. is the graveyard shift. So I'll never forget, my salary was based on a 50-hour work week, right? So normally you work on a 40-hour work week, but that's based on a 50-hour work week. And we were working upwards of 60, sometimes 65 hours a week.
Wow.
Because that's hospitality. That's what you do. It's
going.
I didn't know it then, but I see it now. Hospitality is a lifestyle more than it is a job.
Yeah.
I mean, to really do it well, and you can see it definitely on the Strip, right? It's a lifestyle. I mean, because they're there all the time, especially if you're getting into management and doing those things. And that's really what made the decision for me. I was, I'll never forget it, was Christmas Eve, and my entire family's in the living room, and I'm putting on a suit and tie to go to work. And I'm like, this is not where I want to be.
Yeah.
And that was the decision. I was like, I don't think I want to be in this field. So girlfriend and I got married right out of college, so we both moved to Southern Cal. She was in broadcasting. She's a Las Vegas native. She was in the broadcasting. She was actually a camera operator at Channel 8 for the news. But when we moved to, Orange County, LA, she didn't have enough experience to get into her degree, right? So she was doing retail. So we were both, we're living in Southern California. We actually lived in Newport Beach. It was beautiful. But we knew that we weren't buying a home there. So we both made the decision, let's move back to Vegas. I'll figure out another career. And she could go back into broadcasting. So she started working at Channel 3, and she had a full career in sales of TV. But and then I started looking around. I was like, what am I going to do? I've got this hospitality degree, but I don't want to be in hospitality. What else do I want to do? So just to kind of fit it in. So I had finished my 4 years of swimming on a scholarship. I had my parents had set aside money for me to go to school, and they asked what I wanted to do with it. This is before I went to hospitality. So there was a program, it actually still runs. The Basque people who live in, they have a lot of heritage in northern Nevada and southern Idaho. So there's a program through UNLV, UNR, and Boise State you can go to school in the Basque Country. So northern Spain, southern France. Basque people come from both countries. So I actually got to do a full academic year, 2 semesters in northern Spain, before I went to work in hospitality. So when I came back to Vegas, I was like, all right, I'll start teaching high school Spanish. So I was volunteer coaching for my swim coach at UNLV, and I was getting my teaching credential. And, just figuring that out, I had about 2 semesters of work I had to do. But within that first semester, my coach took me to an athletic department meeting, and they were looking for a former athlete that had been in the workplace a while to learn entry-level fundraising. And I was like, I didn't even think of that as a career, just no clue. And so I applied for that job and got it. That's where I started learning fundraising. Started selling football and basketball tickets for UNLV, the athletic department, and then basically low-level events for donors, so that I could start to understand who the donor base was, right? Who supports UNLV in the athletic department at that time. We're dealing with just post-Tarkanian, so we had a lot of basketball, but then Massimino comes in. It was a really turbulent time for this city and the athletic department. But I learned entry-level fundraising. So I had done that for about 4 years, and then I figured out the best job on campus was the assistant men's golf coach, right? Not a direct line to any of that stuff. But what I knew was I knew the assistant coach that was at the program, and I knew Coach Knight always hired non-golfers because he needs someone to run the office, and golfers want to be on the golf course, right? So he always hired non-golfers. He did all the golf stuff. He needed to make sure the office ran. So one of the things that I really learned over there, and I was with the golf team for 10 years, 10 seasons, but they had an endowment. So they had raised money. They had raised about $4.5 million. So that pot of money is invested in the market. So as an endowment, so my job was to manage the board of directors that manage that money and the investments, because they're going to spin off revenue for the team. I ran a booster group of about 250 supporters for the golf team. We had just won the national championship in '98, and I came in the year after. So big, high-level program, best of the best. And that's how they did that fundraising, right? They had managed to build that endowment so they knew their budget was covered every year, right? So the school only paid the coaches' salaries. Everything else that we spent came out of this endowment, right? So you even look at athletics today, that's how it's run, right? So you look at the name, image, likeness, and paying athletes and stuff. I mean, that's kind of the setup of what it was, right? Because so all the scholarships, everything was paid out of this endowment. So kind of ahead of its time, but it was a great place for me to learn. I learned one of the other things that was a really good thing for me to learn was, and it helped me get to where I am today, is because we were a national championship team and you only travel with 7 people, 5 golfers and then the 2 coaches, we were using private aircraft to fly back to the East Coast to get into the right tournaments. Golf is really based in the Southeast, so the SEC and the ACC conferences are where you play the highest level golf. Well, if you want to be a national champion, you have to go back there and play in those places. So we were leveraging, again, I got the job in '98 and I finished in '09. We were leveraging local boosters to use their private aircraft to fly us back for the tournaments, right? Keep our kids in school a little bit longer. I mean, once you fly a private aircraft, there's no coming back from that. I mean, I'm telling you, it's the best. You pull your car into the hangar, you take your bags out of your car, throw them in the plane, you get on the plane, and you're off. It's unbelievable. Nothing, you're not checking anything. I mean, it's crazy. So, but what I learned is all the people that had those aircraft, right? They're not poor. Or they're the elite of the elite, and they're the ones that run this town. And it really helped me build a donor network, right? I would set up all the flights. So I'm working with, the donor, and typically, they had staff that helped me out, but I created relationships over that 10 years with those, wealthy individuals. And after about 10 years of that, right, I'm not a golfer. I don't even want to be a coach. I love the job. It was fantastic. It was a great job to have. But I was looking for something else, and I was looking for my next step. And I was like, just looking at the skill sets that I have, right? I've got this donor potential, but I'm not, while UNLV is kind of a nonprofit, it's not, right? It's a state agency. So do I go into this nonprofit work? So I started looking around, and what really attracted me, it was with the Animal Foundation. They had gone through a really tough time. It's like so many things in this community. So we grew so fast. Social services just never kept up. And that's human services, and that's pet services, right? So there's this Animal Foundation that it's the largest shelter, the highest volume shelter in the entire country, right? Get your arms around that, right? Normally, a community, as it grows, it's like we got to put an animal shelter here, and then one here, and then one here. Where we just built one big one, right? And then all the animals came to it. So it was just massive, and we were getting 136 new animals every day. Every day. Think of that. It's 50,000 animals a year.
Yikes.
Right? So how do you manage that, right? Because, and I won't go into it, but it's a difficult problem, and you need money to actually care for those animals.
Resources,
right?
food, all of that.
And there's also a dynamic, too, in that there's municipalities, so the city of Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, Clark County. they paid the Animal Foundation to shelter their animals. They have a municipal obligation to shelter animals for 72 hours.
Yes.
Right? After that 72 hours, no obligation. So after that 72 hours, that's where the nonprofit kicks in, right? So you give residents the opportunity to come find their animals. Busiest day at the shelter, can you guess?
Weekends.
Day.
Saturday.
July 5th.
July 5th.
Fireworks.
Whoa.
Right? All the dogs
All
go
the dogs
nuts.
running away. That's horrible.
Right. So that, those kind of things of being able, you don't think about it on a daily basis, but that's what you're dealing with.
Once it happens, it's there,
right. So those kind of things. So I learned a lot, and it was an opportunity to really learn nonprofit fundraising. And then after about 6 years at the Animal Foundation, I saw the opening at the Boys and Girls Club. And again, I had been in town since 1983 is when I came here to swim at UNLV. So I knew the town pretty well. And I knew Boys and Girls Club, right? It's this old organization. It's been in town forever. But there were also two orgs. There was Boys and Girls Club Vegas, Boys and Girls Club Henderson. And then in 2015, they merged those two organizations together. And they were looking for someone to come and take the merged organization forward. So I stepped up and got the job. It was my first chance to be a CEO. And I've learned a lot. I'm just finishing my 10th year. That's why I'm rubbing my head.
Long time.
But it's been great. I've learned so much, about leadership, culture. Culture is really easy to talk about.
Yes.
It's super hard to actually get people to do.
And appreciate.
And it's not getting people to do what you want to do, right? It's setting, okay, this is who we are.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to react to things, right? And so it was a lot about, particularly because we're merged the two organizations together, right? What I got when I first got here was, well, this is how we did it in Vegas, and this is how we did it in Henderson. And I was like,
This is new.
It's new. What's best practice?
Yeah.
Right? Let's focus on that. If it's from Vegas, great. If it's from Henderson, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all good. Whatever's best practice.
Yeah.
And again, we have an advantage in that we have a national organization that can kind of help you with that, right? So that's really what those first couple of years were all about, of just trying to get best practice, right? You have 13 clubs. They're not all together, right? So they're all over town. How do we make sure, the Reynolds Clubhouse and the Kish Clubhouse and the Lead Clubhouse are all running the same programs at the same time?
Setting that baseline.
We're setting the baseline. We're measuring, right, performance. How is our staff doing? How are the kids reacting to what the staff are delivering, right? Those kind of things. So that took a long time. And look, there is no finish line, right? Culture you're working on every single day.
Yeah.
So you never stop, and you never, in youth development, you never stop, right? Because you're going to learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Staff learn tricks for, how do I get these kids' attention, right? Summer, right? Kids are
all over the place.
School's out.
I want to be free.
Yeah. So how do you burn that energy,
Yeah.
right? How do you give them fun things to do and then steal their time and narrow their focus?
Yeah.
Like, here's an art project. Here's some STEM and STEAM, learning, and let's do some math stuff too, because we don't want to get behind, right? Those kind of things. So you trick them in, right? You know how to do this, right?
Yeah.
You're now
Direct
on that side.
energy. Yeah.
So that is an art. It's a skill, and you have to learn how to do it. So how do we invest in staff to understand? You can't walk into a room and say, "Don't do that," because as soon as you as soon as you say, "Don't do that,"
they're gonna do it.
Someone's gonna do it. Someone's gonna do it, right? So just really, looking at our business, and it is a business, right? But it's focused on kids and making sure that we're serving that child and the parent, right? Parents need to know that they're safe first. They're having fun. And then they're getting some learning in there somewhere, right? That's really our mission. That's what we're trying to do. And as they grow up, how do we build character and leadership and understanding what social and emotional intelligence is, right? Of like, I have my beliefs, but someone else has
Different beliefs.
Yeah. How can we coexist?
Yeah.
Right? So how do we in this club build these social norms that we can all agree on, right? And when someone steps out of those norms, it's not the staff that are saying no, it's us as kids, as peers, right? We say, no, that's not how we do it here.
Yeah.
Right? So that, and learning that, right, of standing up for your standards, standing up for your beliefs, right, and saying that's not how we do it here, right? So we want you to come with us, but we expect you to act like this, right? That sets you up for work, right? Because that is exactly the things that you will work, that you will address when you start work.
Accepting and respecting,
Yeah. And that's how you become a good teammate. That's how you become a good coworker, right? Of knowing social norms and saying, all right, look, we got a mission. We got to accomplish whatever said mission is. That's why we're here. That's why we get paid to be here. But let's have some fun while we do it, right? Let's do these things. And how do I be a good partner to the person standing next to me, and vice versa, right? So just really focusing in on those things, and it's why I love the work. It's why I've been here 10 years. I want to be another 5. I have a goal the end of 2030 is I'll be 65, and I don't think I'll retire. I just don't want to be the CEO anymore.
You've earned it.
Yeah.
You've earned that much.
Yeah.
Huge thank you to Mr. Andy Bischel for coming out today and sharing his story. And as always, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Locked In. It's your host, Mr. DeMille, and I hope to see you guys next time. Thank you.